They assemble every month to exchange information about crimes and criminals in metro Atlanta. This is the Atlanta Crime Information Network, made up of law enforcement officers from all over the metro area. Today they have come to Atlanta Police Headquarters to discuss the Nigerian Mafia and its methods, primarily credit card fraud.
These people know the credit system that they are trying to penetrate, as well as the people who are working in that system.
Stephen Simmons, a GBI expert on organized crime, explained to reporter Josh Littman how the Nigerian Mafia works. The so-called soldiers come from the ranks of Nigerian students studying at American colleges and universities. Mafia recruiters approach these students with offers of financial help in exchange for participating in the credit card operation. The evaporation of student funds from Nigeria since the recent coup is added leverage. The students who accept apply for credit cards using the names of doctors and lawyers. The applications are usually processed without a credit check. After all, you're supposedly dealing with high-income professionals. With the credit cards, these students charge between $300 and $17,000 worth of merchandise a month. They sell the merchandise on the street or ship it to Nigeria for sale there on the black market, and the money goes to the Nigerian Mafia.
One of the big things they're into is shipping guns back to Nigeria. If they purchase a gun here for $200, they can then resell that gun on the streets of Nigeria for $2,000.
Law enforcement has made some inroads into the Nigerian Mafia. Abe Aleo, a recruiter, and Adekoya Alatero Ologbegi, a so-called lieutenant, were recently arrested in Georgia for credit card fraud. Those arrests may represent progress, but according to the GBI, that progress is minuscule when compared to the scope of the crimes being committed by the Nigerian Mafia. The frustrating part is that law enforcement techniques as applied to this organization have the effect of building a sandcastle against the incoming tide. As long as this country's credit card system remains as is, the Nigerian Mafia will flourish. Mark Picard, Channel 2 News.
First, Europe's problems in coping with the refugee crisis have taken a new ominous twist: the involvement of the mafia. Authorities in Sicily have uncovered a $4 billion fraud scheme involving a reception center for migrants. This comes as humanitarian groups predict a grim summer in the Western Mediterranean as thousands of migrants and refugees attempt to reach Europe. Many have already died. From Sicily, special correspondent Malcolm Brabant reports.
This Norwegian tanker pulling into the Sicilian port of Augusta is a lifesaver. Its crew rescued 220 people whose overcrowded vessel sank off the southern Greek island of Crete after setting off from Egypt. As many as 300 others are feared to have drowned, among them the mothers of 2 Egyptian girls aged 3 and 7. 80 of those on board the tanker were children. The ruthlessness of the people smugglers in North Africa dismays Giovanna Di Benedetto of Save the Children.
It's all very dangerous because people traffickers don't have any respect for human being, for human life, for pregnant women or children or babies. So these people are forced to do this travel in a very dangerous boat.
Having survived the perilous crossing from North Africa, these unaccompanied children are attempting to phone home to let their relatives know they're safe. This Eritrean boy begged to use a mobile phone to call his brother in Holland. 17-year-old Elias Bara from Eritrea was with 6 friends on board an unpowered boat that was being towed by another craft. When it began to take on water, the line was cut. This was just one disaster that made May this year one of the deadliest months on record, as this footage from the Italian Navy shows.
First boat have a motor. Our boat not have motor. This water full. Our boat is full water. Me and 6 friends are not dead. Me and 6 friends. Otherwise 7 persons not dead. 450 persons is dead. People.
These teenagers from Gambia in West Africa are exploring a town near the centre where they're living while their asylum cases are being considered. 17-year-old Aliou Carr has dreams of furthering his education and following in the footsteps of Italian soccer star Francesco Totti. They've all witnessed too much.
I saw people shouting inside the river, shouting, "Help, help!" But we couldn't help them. because our own boat is full. It's around 120 people in one boat, 120 people. I feel very sad because my fellow human beings are dying and we cannot help. It's very sad, really very sad.
The journey to reach Sicily was perilous on land as well as sea. They travelled from Gambia through Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso to Niger. And then they had to cross the Sahara Desert to Libya, where they encountered violent smugglers who forced the migrants onto overcrowded boats.
Libyan people, some are good, but some are not good. They shot many of our friends in their legs. They will break all their legs.
Giuseppe Bonanno Conti wants to stop the influx. He's a regional leader of a right-wing party called New Force and is urging Europe to emulate the uncompromising tactics of Australia, which turned back migrants' vessels and eventually deterred boat people coming from South Asia.
Our Navy should act like Australia's, close our sea and not allow anyone in, so that people traffickers realize that no one can enter Italy anymore. There would no longer be mass immigration and we would save human lives. In such an awful way, these people are fed to the fish in the Mediterranean.
Listening into the conversation was Vincenzo Rizzo, who's concerned that Sicily has the highest unemployment rate in the European Union.
The only thing that's planned is for refugees, Muslims and Africans. There are no longer laws for Italians, nothing to counter unemployment. It's as if Italians no longer existed.
But these Africans feel anything but privileged. The younger ones spend their days cycling around the countryside near Europe's largest permanent refugee camp, where some of them have been waiting 3 or 4 years to find out whether they can stay or will be deported. There's a history of trouble here because frustrations occasionally boil over. The guards are heavily armed. Mardil Sano is an IT graduate from Senegal who would only allow us to film him in profile.
This place is appalling. It's like hell. It's a huge prison. They believe that Africans are illiterate, that we don't understand anything, that we're like animals.
Accordion players strike up the iconic Godfather theme to remind tourists of Sicily's deep-rooted mafia connections. Across the island, small businesses have to pay protection money. The alternative is to have their livelihoods extinguished. There's no doubt that the mafia is involved in most, if not all, aspects of immigration. This week, the authorities closed down this reception centre because they discovered links between the so-called non-profit organisation running it and well-known mafia families. The finance police investigated the money trail for supplies of food, clothes and cleaning materials and uncovered a $4 billion fraud. Local Chief Prosecutor Francesco Paolo Giordano is convinced that this is just the tip of a mob-controlled iceberg.
The mafia has total control of the territory. It would be absurd not to think they have infiltrated the business of clandestine immigration.
The mafia aside, Europe is struggling to cope with the strain of the migration crisis and is doing what it can to stop a repeat of last year's record influx when 1 million people crossed the Mediterranean in search of sanctuary or new opportunities. Angela Lupo, a lawyer with the Italian Council for Refugees, is predicting a long, fatal summer.
There will be more and more deaths. The people traffickers are reorganizing themselves to make the highest profit, which is fundamental to them.
Some migration experts believe that these latest disasters are a direct consequence of the European Union's deal with Turkey, which has so far stemmed the flow of migrants and refugees to Greece. But the pressure to reach Europe has not diminished, and so traffickers and their desperate clientele are being forced to find different and more dangerous routes. Fate has been kind to these people. After being saved from the deep, they have the gift of life. But Europe's internal borders are being tightened with every passing day. Their struggle for a new existence is just beginning. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Malcolm Brabant in Sicily.